Well?
Mother!
Mother? What do you want?
Well, I need you to co-sign a loan. Hear me out. I met this magical hobo down by the river, which sounds kind of crazy when I say it out loud, but he's showed me all these wonderful things over in Pottersville, and there's an investment opportunity next to the whorehouse, and I need a place to stay for a couple of weeks, too.
I don't take in strangers unless they're sent here by somebody I know.
Well, I know Uncle Bert.
You know him?
Well, he's my uncle.
When'd you see him last?
I saw him yesterday.
It's a lie. He's been in the insane asylum ever since he lost his business.
But he was in the insane asylum. How would that even work?
If you ask me, that's where you belong.
Well, how do you like that? What's that, Clarence? Yeah, we should go back to the billiards hall and find a woman of ill repute. That's using the old Nagaroo. Hi, I'm Andrew Heaton, and you're watching EconPop, the show that drives the car of popular culture straight into the tree of economics. It's Christmas, which means it's time to gather with your family around a glowing television, suck back a couple of mugs of eggnog, and watch the holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life, in which Jimmy Stewart's character learns that no man with friends is a failure, and then some stuff about banks. In the movie, the angel Clarence enables George Bailey to see what life would look like if he'd never been born.
What'd you say?
You've never been born. You don't exist. You haven't a care in the world. No worries, no obligations, no $8,000 to get, no potter looking for you with a sheriff.
In this Georgeless world, his brother died in childhood, and Mr. Gower is a drunken ex-con. Bedford Falls is called Pottersville, and has a lot of really fun bars, dancing clubs with girls, and ample neon signage. But for some reason, that's bad in the context of the film. Clearly, George Bailey touched the lives of those around him, and the world was better with him, and so on and so forth. But what if, instead of showing George an alternate universe in which he had never existed, Clarence had granted George the ability to see a world without banks? Without banks, Sam would lack the startup capital to launch his plastics company. Mr. Gower may never have been able to open his pharmacy in the first place, and Bert's taxi business might have been reduced to a pedicab. That's because when most people launch a business, they don't have all the money necessary at its onset. So unless you've got a wealthy relative with an ominous chest cold, you're going to need a bank loan. Of course, if various businessmen around town aren't able to start their own companies, they can't hire employees either. Without banks, Bedford Falls would have fewer businesses and industries and fewer people working in them. They'd have a tough time buying homes too. Right now, I rent a shoebox in New York, but someday I'd like to own a dog, which will require a yard and children to mow it for me. I'll need a house to store those children in until they ripen and join the circus. And to pay for that house, I will require a mortgage. Without a bank loaning me the money, I would have to scrimp and save for that house my entire life before I could ever move into it. In the film, George runs the Savings and Loans, which provides people the loans necessary to buy their own houses. Otherwise, they'd be stuck in Mr. Potter's slums or trying to convince Clarence to let them slip into an alternate universe. Capital is the blood of the economy, and banks are the heart valves pumping it between cities, businesses, and people. If you shut those valves off, the economy has a heart attack. Banks effectively rent out money, and you pay for the time you borrow it. If you rent a car, you pay the car company a fee for the period you drive it, and you pay extra if you park their car in a lake. When you rent money from a bank, it's called a loan. The interest paid is the fee you're charged for renting someone else's money. By doing so, you can borrow money now, which might otherwise take you years to embezzle or save up on your own, if you could at all. In other words, you're purchasing time. If you're like me, you've given a lot of thought to robbing a bank. But here's the trick. Most of their money doesn't sit around in a vault. They loan it out.
You're thinking of this place all wrong, as if I had the money back in a safe. The money's not here. Well, your money's in Joe's house. That's right next to yours. And in the Kennedy house, and Mrs. Maitland's house, and 100 others.
Rather than hoarding bags of cash, most of a bank's reserves are constantly on the move. When you deposit your money into a savings account, the bank pays you interest on it. It's renting your money. To do that, it's actively making loans to other people or businesses and charging them interest in order to pay you your interest while making a profit themselves. At any given time, most of the money in a bank saving account has been loaned out, at risk, in order to earn interest. Of course, if everyone wants to withdraw at the same time, there's a problem. It's called a bank run. When people get the idea that a bank has made bad investments and won't be able to return their deposits, they get spooked.
Just remember that this thing isn't as black as it appeared.
People fear they'll lose their savings, and so they want whatever they can get now, before the bank runs out of cash.
Are you going to Potter's?
Better to get half than nothing.
But if everyone storms the bank at once, it's unable to provide their cash on demand, even if the value behind it is perfectly safe and solvent in loans elsewhere. Bank runs can be self-fulfilling prophecies. When people can't get their money, they panic, then riot, then resort to robbing liquor stores. So what's the solution? In the aftermath of the Great Depression, FDR created the FDIC to ensure bank deposits for consumers, give them peace of mind, and prevent future bank runs. Problem solved. But FDR actually opposed deposit insurance before getting elected, and for good reason. In 8 states where deposit insurance had already been instituted, the banks became unstable. They fell prey to moral hazard. If the government promises to bail out banks that would otherwise go under, then bankers will take greater risks with their customers' money. Imagine telling Mr. Potter he could keep whatever profits he made from high-risk investments, but that he wouldn't suffer the consequences if his investments failed. He'd be so happy he'd punch an orphan. Right now, the United States government insures bank accounts for consumers like you and me for up to $250,000, so that we don't get spooked and loot liquor stores. But that confidence also means I'm going to choose a bank based on how little I have to walk or how attractive the bank teller is, not based on which financial institution best stewards my savings. That all leads to more moral hazard. In the heartwarming conclusion of the film, George Bailey gets saved from financial ruin as a surprise through the love of his friends and neighbors. George can go on loaning money and by doing so help the whole of Bedford Falls. Indeed, every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings, but every time you open a checking account, an angel gets a mortgage. And now it's some people's favorite part of the show, Subjective Value, where we invite an economist on to discuss the film and its elements. This week, my favorite all-time economist, Milton Friedman.
Well, hello, Andrew. Thank you for having me. You know, you ought not to think of me as only an economist. I'm also an angel second class. That's right, and I've been sent here today with an assignment to show you what EconPop would have been like had you never been born. Let's imagine that for a moment, Andrew. Shh, shh, Andrew, we're imagining. Whew, that was spooky, wasn't it, Andrew? Now, you may not understand all these things I've revealed to you today, but fret not. In time, everything will become clear.
So true.
And for now, you can enjoy one of Uncle Milty's famous snickerdoodles. Because there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there's always free doodles. 4 stars.
Well, that's our show. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're looking for more information on banking and the economics of It's a Wonderful Life, you can download the EconPop podcast with Paul Cantor, Steve Horwitz, and myself, available on iTunes. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy Bank Holidays, and Happy Diwali.